If your life looks good on the outside but feels a little off on the inside, this episode is for you. Let me say this up front. Self-trust is the new luxury. Not the perfectly curated feed, not the highlight reel confidence, and definitely not a life that photographs well but feels tight, loud, and misaligned once the noise fades. We're living in a world obsessed with optics. How things look, how fast you're winning, how polished and put together your life appears to everyone else, what you're wearing, what you're doing, where you're traveling. Sound familiar? But yet, behind all these filters and affirmations, so many people are quietly disconnected from themselves, overthinking every move, second guessing every decision, and crowdsourcing their lives instead of living them. That's why self-trust has become the rarest currency and really the most magnetic one. Because when you trust yourself, you stop outsourcing your choices. You stop asking everyone else what you should want. You stop needing permission to honor your instincts. And almost without trying, your life starts to look like you. Not your friends, not your ex, not social media, not the version of yourself you thought you were supposed to be. Today we're talking about authenticity, intuition, and identity alignment. And why self-trust isn't just personal growth anymore. It's your new aesthetic. So stay tuned. This is an episode you won't want to miss. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie, where we decode mixed messages, elevate your standards, and deliver practical insights that you can act on. I'm your empowerment coach, Suzie, here to guide you from confusion to clarity, helping you reclaim your power and create the relationships and life you deserve. We've been taught quietly, consistently, and really over time to romanticize doubt, especially self-doubt. Overthinking is really praised as being thoughtful. Second-guessing yourself, that's framed as being more responsible. Hesitating before making a move is often called being mature, careful, or maybe doing your due diligence. And intuition, well, that usually gets brushed off as emotional, impulsive, unreliable, something to manage, override, or maybe explain away. But psychology paints a very different picture. Intuition isn't just a dramatic hunch or a wild guess. It's physiological. It's experiential. It's your nervous system integrating years of lived experience, patterns you've recognized before, emotional memory, maybe some subtle body cues, faster than your conscious mind can organize them into language. Your intuition isn't reacting, it's recognizing. It's your internal system saying, hey, I've seen this before. Pay attention. Think of it like this. Your brain is the analyst pulling reports, weighing pros and cons, and running scenarios, maybe a little chart here and there. Your intuition, it's the executive summary. It just gives you some details. It doesn't show you every single data point, but it tells you what matters most. Self-trust isn't about choosing your intuition over your logic. It's about knowing when logic has crossed the line into fear management. Because we all know fear and its friend anxiety. They love a long meeting. Fear loves a panel of opinions. Fear loves one more conversation, one more sign, one more delay. And the longer fear stays in charge, the quieter your intuition becomes. Not because it's wrong, but because it's tired of not being listened to. When you don't trust yourself, life starts to feel subtly uncomfortable. Not dramatic, just kind of off. Like living in clothes that technically fit but never feel right. You're constantly adjusting, pulling at the seams, wondering why everyone else looks so comfortable being themselves while you're quietly uncomfortable just existing. You start comparing your timing and choices, and you look around comparing your pace to everybody else's. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit: misalignment, it's exhausting. It drains your energy. It keeps your nervous system on edge. It creates anxiety that doesn't go away, regardless of how much reassurance you get from the outside. That anxiety, it isn't weakness. It's actually information. It's your inner self asking to be brought back into the conversation. This is where authenticity becomes less of a buzzword and more of a lifeline. Authentic living isn't about being loud or rebellious just for the sake of it. It's not about announcing your truth or turning vulnerability into an Oscar-worthy performance. Authenticity is about congruence. What this means is what you believe on the inside shows up consistently in how you make decisions, how you set boundaries, and move through your life. When your values match your choices, when your boundaries reflect your needs, when your life reflects what actually matters to you, not what earns applause, approval, or validation, research shows that people who live in alignment with their values experience greater fulfillment in their life. They're more resilient humans, and their psychological well-being is really great. And when it means disappointing others or choosing a more challenging path, they do that for themselves, especially then, because authenticity isn't loud. It's actually really grounded. It's the calm confidence of being able to say, hey, this works for me, without needing anyone else's sign off. One of the most underrated ways to rebuild self-trust is something straightforward and deeply accessible: space. Real space. Unfiltered space. For example, studies have shown that spending time in nature increases feelings of authenticity, self-esteem, vitality, as well as emotional clarity. And it makes sense. Think about it. Nature doesn't demand anything from us other than ourselves. There's no comparison, no algorithm, no pressure to optimize or impress. No one is watching. No one is grading. No one is judging. No one is asking you to be faster, better, wiser, more attractive, or more anything. Your nervous system finally gets permission to stand down. And when the noise quiets, you can hear yourself again. That's why clarity so often shows up on walks, near water, or even moments when your phone isn't in your hand. Self-trust doesn't grow in constant stimulation. It grows in stillness, in pauses, in moments where you're not being influenced, evaluated, or interrupted. And here's the part people often misunderstand. Self-trust isn't something you declare once and suddenly have forever. It's not a personality trait you either possess or don't. Self-trust is built slowly, intentionally, in ways that rarely get celebrated. It grows when you notice what you actually like and don't like, without judging it or explaining it away. When you keep small promises to yourself, instead of making big ones, you abandon them. When you spend time alone without distraction and realize you're safe in your own company, when you build competence in something really meaningful to you, not impress others, but respect yourself. And when you treat yourself with that compassion instead of criticism, when you make a mistake, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Every time you listen to yourself and you follow through, you send your nervous system a powerful message. I can rely on myself. And that's how confidence stops being something you perform for the world and starts being something you live from the inside out. That, my friends, is self-trust. So let's put this into action with today's coaching moment. Inspired by the questions you've been sending me, the conversations happening behind the scenes, and what I hear again and again in real coaching sessions. And just as a reminder, if something in this episode sparks a question for you, or if there's something on your mind, you can always reach out to me at powercoachsuzie.com. I read them, I reflect on them, and many of these episodes are born directly from what you share. So thank you. Today's question is one I hear all the time. And if this is you, I want you to stay with me for a moment. Question is, how do I trust myself and my judgment when I've made many bad decisions in the past? First, take a breath, because the way this question is usually asked carries a lot of self-blame, maybe a little guilt or shame. It's not really about trust. It's about that deep down regret we feel when we make a bad decision. It's about replaying old choices and using it as evidence against yourself. So here's the reframe I want you to hear clearly. You did not fail. You were just collecting data. One of my coaching clients frustratingly said to me, after everything I've been through, I don't trust my judgment anymore. And when we slowed that down, what she was really saying was, I don't trust the version of me who didn't have the information I have now. That's a very different statement, right? You weren't reckless. You were learning. You really weren't broken. You were actually navigating with the tools you had at the time. Self-trust isn't about having a perfect track record. It's about recognizing all the aspects of your growth journey and giving yourself credit for the wisdom you earned the hard way. Now that you know better, you can do better. Here's the truth most people miss. Self-trust isn't built by never making mistakes. It's built on knowing you can handle yourself when things don't go perfectly, and that you can self-correct, that you can pause, reflect, and choose differently next time. When you trust that version of yourself, the one who can recover, you stop being afraid of making decisions or mistakes at all. Some of the most aligned decisions I've ever made in my life didn't make sense on paper, like getting a divorce from my first husband, going back to school, and even starting a blog about my dating life back in the day. They didn't look logical. They didn't come with a guarantee of success or a win, but they made intuitive sense to me. And every single time I ignored that instinct, I made choices that weren't the right ones for me, like getting married in the first place, despite every inch of my body and soul telling me to run. Listen, your intuition doesn't shout. It nudges. It whispers. And when you keep ignoring it, it doesn't disappear. It just waits until you're ready to listen and make the mistakes. That's why we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again until we learn the lesson and do better. Now let's bring this out of theory and into real life, because self-trust isn't rebuilt in one big moment. It's rebuilt in small, everyday interactions with yourself. If you're in a season of rebuilding trust, here are a few ways you can start today, not someday when you feel more confident. First, stop using your past as a character reference against yourself. This is a big one. A lot of people look back at old choices and turn them into personal verdict. I always choose wrong. I can't be trusted. I mess things up. But that's not truth. That's judgment. Instead of asking, why did I do that? Ask, what did that experience teach me about my needs, my boundaries, or what I value now? Curiosity creates clarity. Judgment shuts it down. Every past decision, yes, even the painful ones, gave you information. And information is power. When you stop shaming yourself and start learning from it, you turn regret into wisdom. You're not your past, so stop defining yourself that way. Second, start making small, low-stakes decisions on your own. Self-trust isn't built in the big, dramatic choices. It's built in the everyday ones. What do you feel like eating today? What do you want to do with your free evening? What feels like a genuine yes this week? And what feels like a quiet no? Before you ask someone else, pause and ask yourself first. You don't need to get it right. You need to practice listening. Self-trust is like a muscle. You strengthen it through repetition, not pressure. Small choices made consistently do more than one big leap ever could. Third, check in with your body before you check in with other people. Before you send the text, say yes to the invite or override your instinct. Take a moment and notice what's happening internally. Is there a sense of tightness, a drop in energy, a feeling of calm or expansion? Your body speaks in the sensations long before your mind forms an explanation. This isn't about ignoring logic, it's about including your body in the decision-making process. The more you acknowledge these signals, the clearer they become. Fourth, keep one promise to yourself every day. Not a significant, life-changing promise, a realistic one. Drink the water, take the walk, leave on time. Say no when you mean no. Follow through builds internal safety. Every time you do what you said you would, your nervous system gets the message. I can rely on myself. And that's the foundation of self-trust. Not perfection, consistency. Not intensity, integrity. Here's what matters most. Self-trust grows when you stop trying to prove yourself and start showing up for yourself, quietly, daily, without an audience. And over time, that relationship with yourself becomes the most stabilizing one that you have. Self-trust isn't about being fearless or flawless. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you won't abandon yourself. When you stop punishing yourself for past versions of you and start partnering with who you are now, trust becomes natural again. You don't need a clean history to trust yourself. You need self-compassion, presence, and practice. And that, my friends, is something you can start today. Here's something you can use this week to help you on your self-trust journey. Repeat after me. I trust myself. I trust myself. I trust myself. Here's why this works. When you repeat a phrase like this, you're not just saying words, you're retraining your brain. Repetition rewires belief, and belief shapes behavior. Every time that you affirm self-trust, your nervous system gets a gentle reminder. I've got this. I can handle myself. I'm safe in my own judgment. Over time, that nervous system response becomes automatic. Decisions feel less scary, choices feel clearer, and you start moving through life with a quiet confidence that isn't loud or showy. It's grounded and authentic. You don't need to become someone else to feel this. You don't need to force confidence or mimic courage. You need to come home to yourself. Sit in your own knowing. Listen to your intuition. Honor your preferences, your boundaries, and your inner wisdom. That's what lasts, what can't be faked, curated, or outsourced to others. It's yours, and it starts with this simple daily practice. 3 words, 3 breaths, 1 steady reminder. I trust myself. Here's a pro tip. I trust myself. Say it in the mirror. Say it before a decision. Say it quietly while walking, while showering, while brewing your coffee. Each repetition is like a little deposit into your self-trust account, and that balance grows fast. So maybe write it down. When you need it, it'll be there. Put it somewhere where you can access it, where you feel that you need it the most, maybe on your computer, on your fridge, whatever. But write it down and stick it somewhere. It'll be really helpful when you need it the most. I trust myself. Friends, the real flex isn't having it all figured out. The real flex is trusting yourself, even when you don't. It's making those decisions from a place of curiosity instead of fear, listening to your gut even when the path isn't apparent, and showing up for yourself consistently, even in small ways. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. It's the quiet knowing that no matter what happens, you can handle it. It's the muscle you build when you keep promises to yourself, when you check in with your body, and when you honor your values over outside expectations. Authenticity isn't the effort, it's the byproduct. It's what naturally happens when your inside matches your outside, when your life, your choices, and your boundaries reflect who you actually are and not what the world expects you to be. Alignment is the reward. That deep, grounded feeling that life isn't a performance for everyone else, that you're not constantly adjusting to fit someone else's narrative, that your energy isn't drained trying to be seen, liked, or approved. When you trust yourself, your life becomes a reflection of your truth, and living that truth, it's magnetic. People feel it, they notice it, and the best part, you don't need to perform, to prove, to polish anything. You need to come home to yourself, embrace your intuition, and let your choices reflect the real, beautiful, unapologetic you. So here's your takeaway. Self-trust is your superpower. Authenticity is your glow. Alignment is your reward. And the moment you step fully into that, that's when your life starts turning heads. Not because you're loud, flashy, but because it's unapologetically yours. That's magnetic. And that's unstoppable. Thank you for being here and stepping into your power with me today. I look forward to seeing you next week for another empowering conversation. You can catch these episodes and shorter Power Shot bonuses anytime on my podcast, Signals and Standards with Suzie, available on all your favorite listening platforms. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at Power Coach Suzie. Got questions or ideas for the show? Head to powercoachsuzie.com where you can connect with me, explore the blog, or learn more about what I do. This is Suzie signing off. Until next time, keep reading the signals and never, ever lower your standards.